All right. We're live everywhere. We are live everywhere. Just making sure all the streams are working. Yeah. We are good. Excuse me. So, we're going to be talking in a couple of minutes here about a mistake you are making that is killing your career. Mohammed, what's going on, man? I appreciate you tuning in. Not a lot. Oh, man, so many things. Everything is going fantastic. I hope everything is great with you too. Yeah, man, life's good. Life is very, very good. Got back this weekend. Got back this week from Kelowna from a business coaching conference, which was out of this fucking world. I hope things are good with you too, man. It's been a little while. I hope training's going well. Hope you've got plans to be back in the ring or back in the cage soon. Let me know if you do. Actually, let me know because man. I know you're working hard and hoping that there's an opportunity there for it to pay off for you soon. But we are getting into the show in a minute. We are talking about a mistake you are making that is killing your career. And but before we get into it, though, you guys know the drill. If you've tuned into the show before, you know why we're here. You know the goal of this show is to help athletes reach bigger and better versions of themselves in their sport. We do that through talking about mindset, talking about training, talking about those little habits outside of the sport itself that you need to have dialed in if you are going to be successful. So as you tune in, make sure if you've gotten value from the show before, share it with a friend, share it with a teammate, share it with a coach, share it with somebody who is going to need to hear this message. We're going to be getting into it in very, very soon here, and we're going to be talking about the mistake you are making that is killing your career. So let's get going. We're going to get going here in 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Elite Development Podcast, the #1 show for athletes looking to gain an edge on their opponents and build their dream careers in sport. I'm your host, Kenny Dusseault, and today we are going to be talking about a massive mistake you are making that is killing your career. Now, what is this mistake? So let's get straight into it. We're going to get straight to the point today. The mistake you're making that is killing your career is trying to do it all alone. Now, I see so many athletes every single day that are telling me that, they understand how to condition themselves for their sport. They understand their training. They understand their skills. They think that what they're doing right now is working. So they don't need coaching. They don't need more than what they've got right now. And I'm here to tell you, first of all, that I hate to say it, but you're wrong. You're not good to go where you're at right now. Everybody needs more. Everybody needs to be learning from more people. Everybody needs to be understanding more about the other areas of their sport. And so when you are out there trying to do it all alone, you are sacrificing potential in your future, in your career. So first, let's talk about why athletes want to do it all alone. The common reasons that I hear is first, investing the time into learning from other coaches, and second, investing the money into learning from other coaches. Now, don't get me wrong, I understand both of these are extremely valuable resources. From being a busy human being myself, I understand how valuable time is. From building a business, I understand how valuable money is. I understand both of them, but let's talk through why athletes feel like they don't have time or don't have money to invest in the resources they need in order to be more successful in their career. So first off, let's talk about the money. That's a very clear, very obvious one. I know so many athletes struggle with it. I get it. I've been there before myself too. But when I talk to athletes and they say, I can figure this stuff out on my own, what I want to talk about is exactly why that's going to end up costing you more in the end. So if you're sitting here right now and you're thinking, my nutrition, no, I'm good. I can figure that out on my own. No, my strength and conditioning, no, I'm good. I can figure that out on my own. No, my, training, whatever else, no, I can figure that out on my own. Here's why that's actually going to cost you more in the end than it's going to help you. Apologize. The Instagram stream for some reason just will not hold up lately. So hopefully everybody else is hearing me okay. You guys, I apologize. But here's why that's going to end up costing you more on your own to try to figure it out on your own than it will be to invest in coaches. So number one is because the longer you try to figure figure everything out on your own, the more mistakes you're going to make. So if you're an athlete right now and you're trying to put together your own nutrition plan and your own weight cutting plan, you're going to make a ton of mistakes. It's not that the information's not out there, it's that there's too much information out there. And as a result, you're going to be learning from some of the wrong people. And if you're learning from some of the wrong people, you're going to make mistakes that could be avoided by hiring a specialist. So, as an example, how do we know who to listen to and who not to listen to when it comes to this nutrition advice? First of all, if you are an athlete out there looking to learn how to cut weight and you have not hired Coach TJW yet, you're absolutely baked. You need to do that. He is the absolute best in the game. I send all of my athletes his way anytime I get the opportunity. So absolutely hire Coach TJW. That's my first piece of advice. If you're being stubborn and you decide, no, I don't want to invest in the best in the game, I want to do it myself, how do you decipher the bad advice from the good advice? So the first thing you're going to do when you're looking at this advice of, who to actually listen to and who not to is look at their qualification. So a lot of the time people look at it and they say, well, my MMA coach says to do it like this, so I'm going to do it like that because he or she has helped other athletes cut weight before too. But you've got to look deeper. Your MMA coach knows MMA. And yes, weight cutting is a part of MMA. And yes, they can probably get athletes down to weight effectively. But can they get them down to weight effectively, rehydrate them effectively, and have you step into the cage the next day at your absolute best? Likely not, because the time that weight cutting specialists are spent focused on that, your MMA coach is spent focused on MMA, focused on game planning, focused on your skill set, focused on all the other areas of their job that they need to have perfect for you to be able to succeed when you hit the cage. So when you're looking for who to listen to when it comes to advice in that nutrition, in the nutrition, in the weight cutting area, don't just blindly take advice from one of your MMA coaches because they've helped other athletes do it. You've got to look deeper. You've got to look at the understanding, the background, and the experience that this person has in the area you're trying to get advice in. So moving past the MMA coaches, what other questions can you ask when you're looking for more information when it comes to your weight cuts? So the first thing that you can ask when you're looking for more information, when you're reading from any source out there, read and ask, again, who is this coming from? If this is coming from some coach who's done a weight cut one time, that's fine. But also look at where they're focused in the information that they're putting out. So if it's a video, if it's an article, whatever else it might be, and they're saying, well, hey, we, got people down to weight, that's one area of the issue. They're focused on getting them to the scale. That's great. But if they're not focused on the performance the next night, this isn't the information you want. As an example, when you talk to TJ, the first thing he's going to talk about, other than getting you to the scale, is rehydrating you so you're performing optimally the next day. So if your only focus when you're looking for this information is the actual weight cut itself and getting you to the scale, you're touching one piece of the puzzle. So what I need you to understand is that when you're looking for this information, when you're trying to understand what information is the right to take in and what information's not, you've got to look past the scale and you've got to look to the rehydration and the competition the next day. So when you're looking for that information on your own, look not just for how to get down to the scale, but how to actually get into the cage the next day as well. However, even still, you're going to be listening to a lot of people that don't have qualification. You're going to be listening to a lot of people that don't have true understanding. They have base level understanding. And so they just put shit out there and people listen. So why it's important to stop trying to do it on your own is by hiring someone like TJ. You're going to bypass all the shitty information because you can look at his profile and you can see he gets results, and not just he gets guys to the scale. He gets guys to the scale, rehydrated and feeling better than they've ever felt before in their careers the next night when they step in the cage. So that is what we're looking for. And that's why you hire a coach. Instead of going to try to figure out what information's good and what information's bad, you bypass that process and you're able to just know right away the guy I'm working with gets the fucking result I want. So when it comes to having the money to invest, I know that's a big problem for a lot of people. So that's what I want to come back to next. A lot of people I talk to tell me they don't have the money to invest. They can't invest in coaches because, they just financially, they're not in a place to do it. And look, I understand that. I understand that the finances are tough, but what I'm going to challenge you to do is audit where that money is being spent. Because if you are working for a living right now, you're supporting yourself somehow, where is that money being spent? Because I'm not saying that everyone out there is, overspending, or everyone out there is not spending their money in the right places. I don't know how you live your life. I don't know how you spend your money. But a lot of people say they don't have the money to invest in this coach that they say they need, but they're spending that money in a ton of other places. They're, spending that money every weekend out at the bars. They're spending that money on, other pastimes, other hobbies, other areas of their life. And that's allowed. That's okay. But instead of saying, I don't have the money to invest in this coach, understand that your career is just not that much of a priority to you. So the next thing, when it comes to not having the time to invest in these other resources, a lot of the time people give me that one too. They say, learning all this new information, putting all this new time into developing these new habits around, what the nutritionist is going to say or what the strength coach is going to say, just takes so much time and takes so much work that I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing because it's working. Now, what you've got to ask yourself is, how well is what you're doing working? Because if what you're doing is working well enough to keep you competing at the level you're competing at right now, that's great. But are you doing enough to hit the next level? Are you doing enough to hit the level after that? Are you doing enough to actually achieve the goals you have for your career? The chances are you're not. And that's not a shot at anyone. That's not a shot or trying to say that anyone's not working hard enough or not doing enough or whatever else. All I'm saying is that right now, unless you've achieved everything you want to achieve in your sport, there's a new level. There's another level. There's more to do. You can climb higher. And why would you not take the time and take the effort and put in the extra that you need to put in order to reach that level? Because if this career truly means something to you, if you truly want to be an athlete at the highest level, you've got to understand, you can't live like the other 99%. You have to have those long days. You have to be investing extra money into your career. You have to have those early mornings, those late nights, those evenings, those weekends, all of those things. And if you truly want to reach the top like you say you do, this isn't negotiable. Learning these things isn't negotiable. You need to understand how to properly cut weight to the highest degree. You need to understand how to train properly, not just how to grind your body into a fucking pulp. You need to understand these elements of your career, because without them, you will not be successful. You might reach a new level than you're at right now. You might reach 1 or 2 levels higher than that. But you're going to run into the guy who's got the skill set that you've got, but also has the gas tank to back it up, but also has the know-how when it comes to weight cutting that allows them to be fresher when they step into the cage than you. And when you run into that person, you're going to lose. Because again, if you're trying to do it all alone, if you're trying to figure it out by yourself and someone else isn't, you're leaving your success up to chance. You're leaving your success up to the chance that you're just doing enough instead of going to the next level and doing more. So now we're going to dig into one other area that I think is going to trigger a couple of people out there, because this is one from personal experience. One of the real reasons that I believe a lot of athletes out there don't want to invest in coaching is ego. And this was me when I was powerlifting. I wanted to do it all myself because I wanted to be the guy who did it all himself. I watched a lot of videos, I learned a lot, I read a lot, and I fucked myself up. I trained 6 to 7 days a week. I trained heavy almost every single day. I did things that looking back on, I don't know why the hell I was doing, because instead of humbling myself and saying, hey, I want to win world championships in this sport and I need help to get there, I had that fucking ego saying, you're going to be the guy who coached himself to that level. And that resulted in pain and injury and regret. I pulled muscles in my back 3 to 4 times. I tore a muscle in my back. I blew out one of my knees. I've had issues in both my shoulders, both my wrists. My right ankle acts up to this day because I overtrained. I worked myself into the ground and I wasn't humble enough to ask for fucking help. Now, again, I'm not saying that I magically would have been a world champion if I had been coached, but if I had been coached and I had actual qualified people helping me along the way in those days, would have made a hell of a lot further than I did. Because even now, looking back with more qualifications in my own career, looking back at some of the stuff I was doing, it's ridiculous. But because I was too stubborn to ask for coaching, ask for help, pay for a mentor, I struggled and struggled and struggled. And then with that struggle came injury. And with that injury came having to restart from the bottom. And having to restart from the bottom, that came more injury from not building it up the right way. So this is why it costs you more to do it yourself than it does to hire a coach. Because if I had hired a coach, I won national championships on my own. But if I had hired a coach, if I had humbled myself, if I had put myself in the position to accept the help that I actually needed, instead of winning a national championship, maybe I could have won a world championship. I had the opportunity to go to worlds, but my dumbass got hurt before the world championship happened. So this is why it costs you more. Because at that level of the sport where I could have actually started to get sponsored, I could have actually started to make money, I could have actually started to, win prizes when it came to the competitions, I was too stubborn to ask for help. And in turn, I never made it to those levels. Because people that had the knowledge that I didn't have could have prevented me from making the mistakes I made that cost me the life of an athlete. So that is why I'm so passionate about helping you understand you need help. You need to hire mentors. You need to hire coaches. Because if you're an MMA fighter right now thinking, I can take care of my own strength and conditioning, I can take care of my own nutrition, I can do all these things myself, and it's working for you right now, that's great. But what about when you get that first UFC opportunity? You're in the room the night before, you're cutting the weight, and all of a sudden those last 3 or 4 pounds aren't coming off the way they usually do. What you're doing isn't working as well. But instead of having a nutritionist or a weight cutting specialist that can actually walk you through those steps and actually help you with that problem when it arises because they've seen it 1,000 times before, you do it yourself. So you have that extra time in the sauna, those extra tubs, all of that stuff to get the weight off. You feel like absolute shit when you step on the scale. And then the next night, you're not feeling great because you didn't rehydrate very well. And now you lose on the biggest stage in the world because you're too fucking stubborn to ask for help. Or what about if you're training and you've got that shoulder that just doesn't quite feel right, but you're always able to work through it? And now instead of that pain hanging on for a day or two after a training session, it's hanging on for 3 or 4 days. And then it's hanging on for a week. And then it always just kind of doesn't feel right. But, you're tough, so you work through it anyway. And then 2 weeks out from your first ever opportunity with the UFC, that shoulder pops out and now you can't fight. And now you can't fight because, again, instead of 6 months ago, getting the help of a coach that could actually help you work through that injury, heal it, and recover from it, you just push through it because you're too fucking stubborn to ask for help. This is how it kills your career. These issues, these problems, they come up in the worst possible times. But if you're doing it yourself and you haven't faced these issues, you don't know what to do when they come up. But if you've worked through them before, if you've worked with a coach, if you have someone on your team that understands it, now when those issues come up, you can be preventative. And if you can be preventative, now you can stop those issues from becoming long-term problems. And if you can stop those issues from becoming long-term problems, now you're competing at the highest possible level because you have the coaches in your corner that can help you work through these issues. So stop making this mistake. Stop trying to do it all yourself. Stop thinking that you have knowledge and you have experience that you just don't have yet, and understand you need the help of coaches. You need the help of professionals, not just in the sport, but in all the areas outside the sport that allow you to compete at a higher level. Because if you don't, I promise you, it will cost you more in the end to try to do it yourself than it will to make the investment now. So I hope that was valuable. I hope you got something out of that. If you did, I would love to know what it is in a comment below. I would also greatly appreciate, my one ask of everyone who tunes into the show is to share the show with a friend, share the show with a teammate, share the show with somebody who needs to hear this message. So thank you all. I appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day, and we will talk again very soon.